Congratulations on your ASC Award nomination for Citizen Saint.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for inviting me to the interview.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you're nominated for the Spotlight Award for your cinematography on this film. It has a very distinct visual style. Every frame really does kind of look like a painting. It's very intentional and set. I'd love to go into that visual style that you created for this, but I'd love to just start with what attracted you to this film? How'd you get brought on in the first place?
Um, well, I have never met before the director, Tina. She's Georgian, and it was through a Bulgarian producer who was planning to co-produce. So it was planned for to be a co-production between the two countries. So it was so that's how we met.
Mm-hmm.
We never worked before, and so so of course they were looking for a cinematographer, and I was recommended to them. So they probably saw some of my previous work, and finally decided to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
So we mm, so of course they sent me the script, and we started that, that usual communication between the director and the cinematographer, starting to share thoughts, to hear each other, because usually when I start working with someone and especially with someone who I don't know, I would uh, first want to hear what they imagine, what's the world they live in, and
Right.
yeah, and try to understand and try to make them share as much as possible with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, what were those conversations like as you were trying to figure out, how you both saw the film visually?
Well, visually, it's interesting because from the very first from the very first talk that we did, Tina was pretty sure and very definite about two things, and these were, first, she wanted the film to be in black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and second, she didn't want a single handheld shot in the movie. She
Oh,
she did
wow.
she didn't
Okay.
want it. So yeah, so that was the first thing, and then actually, apart from the script, that uh, the sense that the director you are speaking with has so clear vision about certain things, made me even more attracted to the project.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, well, first when I heard black and white, I said, okay, that's interesting, because it's black and white is like the never-ending love story between cinematographers and black and white photography.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
been forever. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's great that she already had that distinctive idea going into it, that she really wanted that very intentional framing and the black and white. Uh yeah, I mean, I'd love to ask about what some of your favorite scenes were to film, whether it was technical challenges that you overcame or just things that you love how emotionally it came across on the screen. If you want to, mention a couple of specifics, I'd love to hear about what you loved most about the filming process.
Well, yeah, the filming process was actually quite intense. We managed to shoot it and finish the film in 16 days, which is, well, I think it's a short time, well, compared with, let's say, I don't know. For me, that's mm, the average time for a, like, let's say, in the place where I live and I shoot, it's like 20-25 days. So yeah, the shooting process was really intense, but we had we were lucky enough to have a very dedicated and good crew. Regarding the scenes, well, of course, the scenes that I remind mostly were the scenes that were set inside the tunnel, uh, because, well, they were challenging in terms of a lot of things. We had to do it in a functioning, in a working mine in Georgia, a mine from the 50s. So, and also we had to go inside, like 300-400 meters inside the caves. Of course, the usual challenge was uh,
Yeah.
lighting inside these caves and the tunnels, which we, thanks to the to the technology that we have nowadays, it's possible with only the torches on the helmets of the
Mhm.
miners.
Yeah.
Mostly, I mean, we we used a very, very, very small light inside.
Okay.
um and But somehow we succeeded to do it. And there's another scene that, now, as you ask me, there's a scene, if you remember, when uh, towards the end of the film, the main character decides to take the cross and and throw it into the river.
Hmm.
So it was, we decided to do it with in a single shot. The shot was with a duration of like 7 to 10 minutes.
Hmm.
And I was doing it because most of the moving shots in the film are done with the gimbal. We use the Ronin,
Okay.
and I did it myself. And, well, the terrain was really challenging because we had to do it, both the actor and me. He was climbing with the cross. uh, it was a very steep climbing up the hill. Then
Hmm.
he had to make a turn, go down, and reach the riverbed where he had to throw the cross. And it was like, I was trying to do that crazy movements around him, follow him from behind, and then moving and trying to make a frontal while he was walking. I was trying to make the frontal, like a close up of him, and trying to make the shot more, um, like, following the dynamic of his movement.
Hmm.
So I remember this scene especially because we uh, we started to do it. The day was partly cloudy with a little bit of sun, and when at the beginning of the shot, the sun just came out a little for just 1 or 2 minutes, and then a cloud covered the sun.
Hmm.
And by the middle of the shot, it started raining. Let's say that was the yeah, that was the first take. And in the middle of the shot, it started raining, but nobody called cut. So we kept performing the shot. And so at one point, because it started raining, the lens on the camera was all covered with raindrops.
Yeah.
And so the image became, yeah, the image at the very end of the shot, the image was quite blurry and kind of very impressionistic
Yeah.
looking. It was, actually, it was very, very interesting. Um, and we finished, and we watched it. We looked at the playback of the camera,
Uh-huh.
and we watched it, and we decided, because of that raindrops and all the blurry image at the end, we decided to make a second take. And we made a second take, which turned out to be like a regular one, and that was it. But the next day it was a day off, and suddenly the producer called me and the director called me, and they said, unfortunately we have to reshoot that scene. And I said, why do we have to reshoot? And they said, because we are afraid that what we like the first take, but we are afraid that it's not usable. I said, why? Well, because at the end of the take, you don't see nothing. You don't see the face of the actor. And I said, why? And then we discussed that, and then we met, and I watched it because they showed it to me, the take, and I
Yeah.
watched it, and I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was very me was really with some flares, all these artifacts when the lens is wet, uh, were visible, but it came at that precise moment of the film. I thought that would be really nice to show it, but like there was something very dramatical in that, and they were decided to reshoot, and I said, you are crazy, you have to use this. I mean, we will never get it again. This is once in a lifetime. Even if it's a bit not it's not the classical shot, but it brings up some emotions at least. And I tried hardly to convince them, and fortunately they left it in the final cut.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there. But this is something I remind, because I was horrified when it's also always disappointment when you have to reshoot something.
Right. Yeah, especially a 6 to 7 minute long take where you're operating on a Ronin. That's not the easiest thing to just go back and do it again.
Yeah, it was challenging, and on top of that, on the first take that I described you, I hurt my knee.
Mm.
So for me to go back and do it again was absolutely was yeah, absolutely not the best way that things
Yeah.
could could go.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's the perfect example of things don't need to be technically perfect to maybe be the perfect
Yes.
shot, you know? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's great. I'm glad you fought for it.
Yeah. I'm also glad. In a situations like this, you struggle sometimes. It's because yeah, of course, the shot is close to a how to say, it's close to a disaster. But it's amazing how sometimes these disasters that happen on set, they actually end up being in the film, and you realize that they are actually the right disasters,
Hmm.
that happy accidents. Let's say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What's it like being nominated for an ASC award for your work on the film?
Whoa, that's the nomination was a huge thing. I cannot. I'm still trying to somehow uh, make sense of all that happened. But yeah, it was really a great honor, and to tell you it's a surprise. Uh, the word surprise, it's not strong enough to express my feelings.
Yeah.
I'm really happy.